Ever stop and think about the shape of your computer mouse? Or the way your coffee mug feels in your hand? Or even that super satisfying click of a pen? Well, that's not an accident. It's design. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the creative force that shapes pretty much everything in our physical world.
Just look at this thing, the Olivety Valentine typewriter. Yeah, it's a machine that types for sure, but it's also a piece of pop art, right? It's got this personality. It makes you feel something. And that beautiful mix of being useful and looking amazing is everywhere in almost every single object we touch.
So, who's the magician behind all this? Who's doing that careful balancing act between how something looks, how it works, and, the vibe it gives off?
That would be the industrial designer. These are the architects of our everyday stuff, the people who turn needs and wild ideas into actual, tangible products for all of us.
Okay, so we know who we're talking about, but what is industrial design really? And like the slide says, it's so much more than just making things look pretty. The official definition calls it a strategic problem-solving process. And those keywords are, well, key, strategic and process. It's not just about sketching. It's about a methodical way of thinking that drives innovation, helps businesses succeed, and ultimately leads to a better quality of life for you and me. So you might be wondering, okay, but how is that different from being a craftsman or an engineer? Great question. Think of it this way. A craftsman figures out the shape as they're making something, right? It's very hands-on, one of a kind. An engineer, they're laser-focused on making it work, the circuits, the materials, the physics of it all. The industrial designer is the bridge between those two worlds. They blend the art and the science to decide on the product's shape, its features, and how you'll experience it, all before it gets mass-produced. And this job didn't just pop up out of thin air. It was literally born out of necessity. When the Industrial Revolution hit, things weren't being made one at a time anymore. Suddenly, you needed a plan, a blueprint for making thousands of identical things. That led to these cool movements in places like Germany, trying to bring that artisan quality to the factory floor, until finally, in the early 1900s, the name industrial design stuck.
So how does the magic actually happen? Let's walk through the process of how a designer takes a fuzzy idea and turns it into a real, solid product that you can actually hold in your hand.
It all starts with people. It has to. As the brilliant folks at Stanford's D School say, if you want to create something truly meaningful, you have to get to know your users. You have to genuinely care about their lives. It's a whole process that's built on a foundation of empathy. And that empathy is step one in this really powerful framework called design thinking. So first you empathize, you really try to walk in your user's shoes. Then you define the actual problem you're trying to solve. Next up is ideate. This is the fun part, brainstorming every possible solution, no matter how crazy. Then you prototype. You build quick, cheap versions of your ideas, and finally, you test those prototypes with real people to get feedback, learn what works, and you guessed it, start the whole cycle over again. And yeah, as you can see here, this process is anything but a neat straight line. It's messy, it's dynamic, and it's super collaborative. It looks like walls just covered in sticky notes, with teams trying to make sense of everything. And it also looks like people getting their hands dirty, building things out of simple stuff, just to bring an idea into the physical world. It's all about building to think and testing to learn.
Now, of course, designers today have a lot more than sticky notes and cardboard to work with. They've got this incredible digital toolkit that helps them bring all those ideas to life. What's so cool is the crazy range of what's called computer-aided design, or CAD software out there. I mean, these are the tools that let designers build super detailed 3D models. And the best part? The barrier to entry is basically gone. You can literally start learning for free with something like Tinkercad, or use powerful open source software like Blender for mind-blowing visuals. Then you've got the professional stuff like Fusion 360 or SolidWorks for really complex manufacturing.
But with all this power comes a ton of responsibility. I mean, the role of an industrial designer has shifted big time. It's not just about making the next cool gadget anymore. It's about thinking about the global impact of every single thing that gets made.
This whole shift really started with the idea of sustainable design. The goal here was pretty straightforward. Do less bad. Use recycled materials, cut down on energy use, and just generally try to shrink the negative footprint of a product. But now, the goalposts have moved. The conversation is shifting towards regenerative design. And this is a huge leap. It's not about doing less harm, it's about actively doing good. It's about creating things that actually help restore and improve our environment and our communities. Think packaging that doesn't just biodegrade, but actually enriches the soil.
So, how do they actually pull this off? Well, a huge idea here is the circular economy. This means getting away from that old linear model of take, make, and throw away. Instead, the idea is to design products from the very beginning so that their parts can be reused, repaired, or returned to nature. You're basically designing waste right out of the system.
And designers have some incredible strategies to make this happen. Beyond the circular economy, you got biomimicry, which is basically looking at nature's 3.8 billion years of R&D for answers. There's the cradle-to-cradle philosophy, where everything is basically food for something else. And of course, there's a huge focus on ethical sourcing, making sure that the human cost of our materials is just as important as the environmental one.
So, where is all this headed? What does the future look like for the stuff we use every day? How is technology going to keep changing the game?
Well, there are three massive trends to watch. First, AI-powered development. We're talking about algorithms that can spit out and test thousands of design options in the time it takes us to get a coffee. Second is this move towards seamless, almost invisible tech, where our devices just get smarter, more adaptive, and feel totally natural to use. And third, hyper-personalization. Products won't be one size fits all anymore. They'll be uniquely tailored to exactly what you need and how you behave.
When you boil it all down, this is really what industrial design is all about. It's an incredibly optimistic field. It looks at all the world's challenges, big and small, and instead of seeing problems, it sees opportunities for creativity, for innovation, for making things better.
So, next time you pick up your phone or sit in your favorite chair or use, well, anything, just take a second to think about it. An industrial designer made thousands of choices to bring that object to you. So ask yourself, what kind of future is this thing in my hand helping to create?